We can literally touch the moon. We've mapped the entire human genome. We can even clone animals. But human childbirth? It's still a raw, totally unpredictable, and sometimes deadly ordeal. Why on earth hasn't science fixed this incredibly basic human function? Seriously, is natural birth really still a twisted nightmare? Well, prepare for a reality check. We all just assume birth is this flawless, beautiful natural process, but we're completely wrong. The source material we're breaking down in today's explainer argues that human birth isn't perfect at all. It's actually a massive evolutionary crisis.
Section 1. The biological trap. Let's get right into it.
So, millions of years ago, humans decided to stand upright. The result? Our pelvis became narrow and rigid. Awesome for walking, right? But then, we got smart. Our brains literally exploded in size. Here's the ultimate conflict. Our skeleton desperately wants us to walk, but our giant brains make the exit route terrifyingly small. It's a massive biological traffic jam.
Think about chimpanzees for a second. They essentially just slip their babies out. Their pelvises are wonderfully wide. But humans? Look at this. We have virtually zero room for error. Nature literally sacrificed easy childbirth just so we could walk upright and, eventually build spaceships. Talk about a trade-off. Because of this biological trap, a human baby has to pull off a twisted gymnastics routine just to be born. It enters a tiny channel. Then it has to completely rotate its head mid-journey. And finally, it violently squeezes out, usually facing backwards. Literally no other primate goes through this brutal fetal pirouette. It's wild. And because of this whole anatomical nightmare, human babies are basically evicted early. If they stayed in the womb until they were actually fully developed, they'd get completely stuck. So they come out utterly helpless. Get this, their brains have to quadruple in size after birth, 4 times. We are essentially born half-baked.
Which brings us to our next section, midwives versus male doctors. Let's shift gears. Cassidy's research here highlights a massive historical power shift. Now, for centuries, midwives ran the entire show. They relied on patience, gravity, massage, just basic home comfort. But then, male doctors aggressively entered the picture. Out went the gravity, and in came metal tools, super strict schedules, and forcing women to lie completely flat on their backs.
Seriously, why force a woman to lie down? It completely defies gravity. Well, Cassidy argues it was just extremely convenient for the doctor. Period. The book points out these early male doctors actually lacked hands-on experience. So what did they do? They ran a smear campaign. They painted midwives as ignorant and dirty to steal wealthy clients. They brought in dangerous tools just to justify their high fees. It was all about ego and profit over actual safety.
Section 3. The C-section epidemic. Let's look at where this led us.
Okay, these numbers are genuinely shocking. Surgical birth was supposed to be a rare, absolute last resort. But now, it's literally an everyday epidemic. The US is sitting at a massive 29%. Mexico is at 36%. And Chile, a staggering 40%. That's almost half of all births.
You see, biology is no longer the only reason for surgery. Sure, high-risk pregnancies play a part, but look at the data. Doctors are terrified of catastrophic malpractice lawsuits. Hospitals, they absolutely hate unpredictable schedules. Plus, vanity and pure convenience are driving entirely elective surgeries. We're literally treating childbirth like booking a hotel room. But here's the kicker. You cannot cheat biology without paying a price. The upside of modern medicine. Vaginal birth mortality has plummeted to just 0.01%, which is incredible. But the cost is steep. Because of endless repeat C-sections, we are seeing terrifying surges in entirely new modern risks. Things like placenta accreta, which leads to massive hemorrhaging. We essentially just traded evolutionary dangers for surgical ones. Next section, modern medicine's perfect illusion. This is where it gets crazy. The whole timeline of modern birth is basically just us swinging wildly from one extreme to another. In the early 1900s, we had Twilight Sleep, which literally drugged women into amnesia. Then the 70s brought LeMays, pushing women to just breathe through the agony. By the 80s, bam, we just numbed the entire lower body with the epidural. And now, we're swinging right back to hypnobirthing or just totally hyper-scheduled surgeries. The book makes a brilliant point here. Every single decade, we arrogantly think, we finally cracked the code. We try to manage birth like it's some kind of corporate checklist. But guess what? Biology always wins. It's raw. It's messy.
and it stubbornly refuses to be perfectly optimized.
Section 5. Evaluating Cassidy's research. Let's take a step back.
Tina Cassidy's book, Birth, is an absolute revelation. She masterfully takes ancient anthropology and connects it directly to our modern, everyday obstetric practices. She completely exposes this forgotten, wild history of exactly how we are born. So let's critically evaluate the methodology here. On one hand, her cultural synthesis is a total masterpiece. She exposes these medical power dynamics, and it reads like a gripping thriller. But to be fair, there are some weaknesses. The book leans really heavily on historical anecdotes rather than hard comparative data. It lacks deep statistical comparisons of modern outcomes, and honestly, it occasionally romanticizes the very deadly reality of pre-medical birth. So we're left with one absolutely critical question. Did we actually fix this crazy evolutionary trap of big brains and narrow pelvises? Or did we just wrap the whole mess in hospital gowns, legal fears, and surgical steel? I want you to think really deeply about that the next time someone tries to tell you childbirth is just a simple, natural process. There's no way. Thanks for diving into this explainer with us.